Hi all, I hope you're having a good weekend. It's Sunday, happy Valentine's Day. I thought I would take a few minutes to run through this week's Blackboard assignment. By now you have a general sense that each week there's the daily practices to do, there are the readings and the occasional video, and there's often a writing assignment, 1 or 2 pages. And while on the one hand, when I look at it in total and I reflect on what it is put together, it's not that much. At the same time, when I look at it as different discrete projects and tasks and things to do and to coordinate them, it feels like a lot. So I wanted to use this opportunity to show you how I would run through and encourage you to, on the weekend, go through the assignments so that you can have a sense of what's in store and then plan accordingly, and then hopefully see it as a meaningful part of your week. With interesting readings and practices that are becoming increasingly fluid and sort of integrated, as opposed to a lot of different things. Because I don't wish for this class to feel like an overwhelming lot of different things. And I think it can move in that direction at times, given how busy things are. So this is my way of giving you a big picture view of this week and also sharing with you how I would go through the Blackboard assignment to have a sense of what's in store. Okay, so with that, we have a writing assignment, and this week's writing assignment is based on 2 of the readings in particular. One reading is by Judy Cohen, a very important and thoughtful piece on mindfulness and lawyers and sort of the challenges that lawyers can face in terms of threats and volume of work and how to sort of manage that and how mindfulness can be helpful. You may find yourself in the article and it may speak to you in certain ways, and that's part of the writing. And then there's a very wonderful piece by Patton Hyman. Patton was a dear friend who passed away recently, and he was a longtime meditation teacher and practitioner of mindfulness, student of mindfulness, and also a really terrific attorney. And he brought them together wonderfully. And so in this piece that's now about 15 years old, called The Mindful Lawyer, he really offers a very meaningful deep dive into mindfulness and some of the mechanisms, like what is it about this mindfulness that leads to these benefits or can be useful to us in our development as lawyers, and as was commented this week in class, sort of from Oliver Wendell Holmes's quote, the life of the law, our experience. And so now that we're 4 weeks in, 5 weeks in, I think this is a time, given the practice that we have been doing, so that this reading would make more sense today than it would have, say, 4 or 5 weeks ago. And as we've begun to move into mindfulness and the practice of law, this piece, along with Judy Cohen's piece, are particularly, I think, relevant and timely. So you have a 2-page writing assignment, which is given with 2 sets of instructions to weave into the paper. I'm looking forward to reading what you write. Then we have underneath this first item, which is the writing assignment, we have Judy's article. Then we have a 2-minute video clip with Tim Ryan. Tim Ryan's I think a 7-term congressperson from Ohio who visited the class a good number of years ago, and I think you'll enjoy this clip. He also, if the name is familiar to you, recently put in his bid to run for president, who's a very interesting person. I think you'll enjoy the interaction we had with the class. Then there's the article by Patton Hyman. Then there is a 5-minute clip with Harley Tropin. Harley Tropin is another extraordinary attorney. You may know his firm, which established the Lit Skills program. Harley came and visited class a number of years ago, and here we're having a discussion on the space to choose our response. So I think you'll find this to be an interesting thing to view and to learn from somebody as gifted and skilled as an attorney as Harley, who also has been practicing mindfulness and meditation for about 30 years on a daily basis, which brings us to the daily formal practices. So we've just now worked through the readings and we've worked through the videos to watch, and you have a sense of or an understanding of what the writing is. So that's pretty, I think, straightforward. And then we have the daily formal practices. And what I've done this week is this. I've put in here actual practices that you can stream from the site, or you can download them onto your device from 5 to 15 minutes, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then 15. And I'm inviting you to choose the length of time you wish to practice. Now, I note in the instructions that Paul Singerman, another wonderful attorney, oftentimes says in his long-term now practice of mindfulness that if you don't feel you have 5 minutes to practice, it's probably useful to practice for 10. And so my suggestion is when you sit and practice, and each day you can do a different length of time or you can do the same length of time, to think about how much time feels right, feels like, yeah, today's a 5-minute day, today's a 7-minute day, and maybe add a minute or two to it. That's entirely up to you. That's to be done each day, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And as you know, and as is written here, on Wednesday, you'll turn in your write-up of your observations up through Wednesday. There are, though, 2 special instructions. So I wanted to speak to what those special instructions are so that you know them in advance. And this is why it can be helpful to look at this over the weekend, because I don't think it is like a heavy lift by any means. But if you're not expecting it and then you're sitting to practice and you forget to do it, or you didn't quite remember to do it at all until the last minute, and then you're scrambling for the field guide or whatever it is, it can feel a little bit onerous. So there's a Sunday special instruction, which is to go outside, look at the clouds, as you might anticipate, and then look on the next page of your field guide. So after you do the wind, and draw the clouds. Now I happen to have it where the wind opens up to 2 pages, so you can always say, oh, I'm going to have 2 pages of clouds. But if it's just 1 page that you have left because of the way you've done it, that's fine. Draw the clouds on that page. But you'll take the crayons and you'll draw the clouds. After you finish the drawing, then listen to the guided practice. So you can draw the clouds in a minute or 2, or you could take your time and do it for 5 or 10 minutes. Hopefully what you're learning now is that the drawing of the clouds is not something that we do and then we practice. It's actually part of the practice. But it's not with, of course, the guided instructions. You're really guiding yourself, or perhaps the natural world is helping to guide you. So you'll then listen to the guided practice of your choice, meaning the length of time, and you'll pay close attention to the coming and going of thoughts. Because as we've explored, the clouds represent and symbolize the coming and going of thoughts and feelings. Then on Monday, the special practice instruction is to integrate the logical song. That was the song that, because of a conversation we had in class, I shared with you all by the group Supertramp. And the instruction is to integrate the song into your practice as noted in the instructions below. And so I suggest that you do these 2 special instructions on Sunday and Monday. They both include listening to the guided practice. So every day you're listening to one of the 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, or 15-minute guided practices. But on these 2 days in particular, and if for some reason Sunday and Monday don't work for you, that's fine. I'm just recommending them. You will then add these 2 pieces, drawing of the clouds and then practicing, or listening to the logical song and then practicing. And then if you scroll down, I have here for you the logical song, so you can watch a YouTube video and listen to it. It also has the lyrics for you if you'd like to see them here. And the instruction is to integrate the song into your practice anytime before Wednesday, because it would be part of the observations you make, but I'm suggesting that you do it Monday. And then listen to the guided practice afterward. And after the meditation is over, then reflect on a question from the song and make note of that in your observations. Okay, that's pretty much it. The one other thing that you may recall from class is a reminder about the informal practice. The times when you'll sit in the morning or on a regular basis and listen to a guided practice, we could call those formal practices. This week's informal practice builds on last week's informal practice. You may recall the invitation to you was to see if you could be aware in the moments before you say something, to initiate or to respond. And we didn't get to that in class this last week, so I'm looking forward to doing so next week, but it'll really come along with this particular practice of do not interrupt. In all likelihood, those of you who endeavor to bring awareness spontaneously to the moment before you were going to talk or after somebody spoke and you were going to reply, found it to be very challenging to do that. And there's interesting reasons why that's so. Here, however, one day this week, and it could be any day you wish, but you might want to do it earlier in the week rather than later, and you can also do it more than just on one day. The intention is to spend the whole day not interrupting anybody. That's the intention. Now, whether you do or you don't interrupt, that's not so important. It's having the intention to not interrupt and then really executing on that intention by not interrupting someone while they're talking. And as we discussed in class, while the technique of not interrupting can be useful at times, it's also a little bit rigid. It's not necessarily the most useful of mindful communication practices, but it's a good start because we tend to be so unconscious in our interrupting that to make it a more conscious endeavor and to say, no, I'm not going to interrupt, and to have to work with that can be very helpful. So one day this week, and it's good to now decide and maybe put on your calendar, say Tuesday, do a day not to interrupt, where you'll just listen to people and wait for them to finish before following up. And as we discussed in class, the technique is useful, but really the opportunity is to, and the mindfulness piece is to be aware of what that experience is like. And we'll discuss that in class. All right, I hope this is helpful. Now when you go and look at the Blackboard assignment for this week, it should be just a refresher on what I just discussed. If you have any questions, let me know. And also in class on Friday, the comment was made how one of the insights involves the lens and seeing things more clearly. I don't know if you all noticed, but these are not the glasses I usually wear. These lenses are not the correct prescription, and they're a little bit scratched and cloudy because they're old glasses. Why? Because this morning when I was at the ocean and I was swimming, a wave came along and my glasses are at the moment gone. I couldn't find them, and I'm going down in a little bit to see if they've washed ashore. So if you live on Miami Beach, in mid-beach, and you happen to come across a pair of glasses, please let me know, because in addition to mindfulness, which can help us see things more clearly, glasses do as well. Be well.